What's going on, guys? Mikey Messini here with another quick carry review, and I got two new knives from Tekto Knives, which I'm going to check out for you guys. I said knives a lot of times. All right, so let's get into the review of these knives. So as a disclaimer, let's just get this out of the way. These knives were given to me by Tekto, but that will not hinder me from giving you a solid and honest review. This right here is the F1 Alpha. This is the F2 Bravo. Let's first start off with the F1 Alpha. This knife is going for $119.99 on their site. This specific version is the black G10 with bronze accents. You can see the bronze right there on the liner, back spacer, glass breaker, hardware on the back, and a little here on the front as well. Let's go over a couple of the measurements. So the blade length is 3.10 inches. The handle length is 4.5 inches. Open length, so overall you're looking at 7.78 inches. The handle width is 0.45 inches, and the weight of this knife is 3.03 ounces. Just made it below 100 grams. Let's go over the key specs. So like I had stated, this is a G10 carbon fiber. The blade itself is a titanium coated D2 steel. Now, where does that rank on the Rockwell hardness? It's 58 to 60 on the Rockwell hardness. And the blade style, they state, is a modified straight back style with a liner lock. So this knife, compared to other knives, let's compare it to the actual F2 Bravo. Let's compare it to a Spyderco PM2. And you know what, let's compare it to maybe a Demco 80-20.5. So they're all pretty much about the same size, the Spyderco obviously being a little longer than the actual F1 Alpha. And what do I really like about this knife? Well, number one, it is ambidextrous. So Tekto was thinking about us lefties, and I am forever going to be an advocate of left-handed people because we just don't get thought about that much when knives are being made, but Tekto got our back with that. In addition to that, I really like the glass breaker. It's not one that's super robust and tactical. You barely even know it's there, but it is. It's jagged, it's right here. It's not super sharp, so that way if you're having to reach for this knife, you don't accidentally stab yourself. So I really like that. I also like the bronze accent on this specific knife. Now on their site, they do have a bunch of different other colors and combinations, but this is the one that I asked for specifically because it just happens to stick with my EDC style and liking. I also really like the fact that the liner has some jimping there, which carries on to the spine of the blade. So whether you're holding the knife like so, or you're a little higher up, you can get a really good purchase on this knife. What do I dislike about the knife? Well, number one, with it being a liner lock and maybe not having it recessed in a way, I have this bad tendency of things getting caught right in this little channel here. So if they had this covered a little bit more, where it would just be this part of the actual liner that's exposed, I think that would be a lot more better, at least for my personal case use, because I don't want things getting caught there. Another thing is, if you take a look at the pocket clip itself, it does stick out, so it's not really ingrained into the scale of this knife, which I think would have been better if they accommodated it into the actual scale of this knife itself. Now that might have to include putting a filler here for maybe a version 2 of this, but I'm afraid that if I kind of slide that into maybe my dress pants or whatever it is, that part of the clip can get caught. And I don't know, I just have to try that out. It's just gonna have to be a user preference, but that's it. And those are really my qualms with the actual knife itself. Other than that, it is a beautiful looking knife. Tekto does have their tactical lines. I met them first at Blade West. That's how they came across my radar. And at that time, they only had maybe a couple folders, but now they have quite a selection. So this one right here specifically is their F1 Alpha, and that's a really sweet knife. I like it. Now let's talk about their F2 Bravo. This comes after the F1 Alpha, and this specific version here is the forged carbon with silver accents. You got it right here on the pocket clip, on the hardware, right here on the back spacer, right here on the little pivot as well. And that's really nice. I like that. This one is priced a little bit more expensive than the F1 Charlie at $149.99. Let's go over a couple of the measurements. So starting off with the actual blade itself, you're looking at 3.10 inches. The handle length is 4.40 inches. The overall length from end to end is 7.80 inches. The handle width is 0.46 inches, and the weight is a lot lighter than the actual F1 Alpha at 68 grams, which is 2.4 ounces. Some specs, key specs: G10 carbon fiber. It is titanium coated D2 steel, just like the F1. And this blade is more of like a satin stonewash blade, I want to say. The hardness on the Rockwell scale is going to be 58 to 60, just like the F1. The type of style blade it is a fine edge drop point, and the locking mechanism is a liner lock. Let's talk about the things I really like about this knife. Number one, I like the gentleman factor to this knife. It's thin, it's slim, and unlike the other knives that Tekto sells, this one definitely does not feel super tactical in any way. It's very concealable, it hides in your pocket, you don't even know it's there. Let's compare it to a couple other gentleman knives that I have. So this right here is the F2 Bravo. Now let's compare it to the Ocaso Solstice. And then let's put its big brother F1 Alpha back into the picture there. So those are the size comparisons to these gentleman style like knives that I personally own. I also really like the fact that the liner itself is not exposed like the F1, where it just has this section right here. As I just stated, I really don't like that opening there because I tend to get lint and other gunk just caught. But on here, they do have it closed off, which I really like. Another thing I really like about this knife is how minimalistic and simplistic it looks. I like the fact that if I flip this knife out, it's not going to scare a bunch of people. Now, the feedback I would have for this knife is, number one, I wish that it definitely was more of a true deep carry pocket clip, because as you can see, it does stop right there. So you're going to have about that much of your knife showing if you have this in your pocket. Another thing is, it's not ambidextrous. They did it right with the F1, but they didn't do it with the F2 nor the F3. Why? I don't know. But I wish that was ambidextrous, so that way it favored to the left-handed crowd, just like they did their first model. Another thing I would have recommended is some jimping on the spine of the blade. That way you can just get a little bit more of a grip on the knife, so that way when you're using it, you can actually rub against something to get those finer cuts. But other than that, I'm very pleased with this knife. I love holding it in hand. No major hot spots when I have it in hand either. And I'm pretty impressed. Now let's do a cut test for both of these knives. I'm just gonna rip this paper right here. Start off with the F1 Alpha. Ooh. Probably need some work there, or maybe is it just user? No, definitely need some work. Definitely need some touch-ups. I'm looking for a knife that'll just slice right through. Let's take a look at the F2. Cut test. Okay. Oh, is it just me? Let me fold it. No, it's getting caught. Okay. Oh, okay. Well, cut tests, I'm not too impressed with that. But granted, these were on their table as they were showcasing it at SHOT Show. So I'm not gonna give them too much slack for that, but wish there was more of a finer D2 edge on here. Nope. Let's see. Let's try a playing card. Maybe it's the playing card. Nope. Oh, even so with the playing card, something with a lot of a more rigid piece, you get those cuts in, no problem. But do I wish it would cut right through thin paper, right out the box, or right out of the pouch that they send me? Yeah, I would wish that it cut super sharp and straight out the pouch. But other than that, I like the knives. I like how they look. It's not an OTF like how I thought they just sold at Blade West. It's their folder line, and you know, I really like it. So thank you to the Tekto Knives family and team. I look forward to more innovations with your guys' folders and expanding your horizon on different types of knives and different updates that you may have to your folders. So check them out. I'll make sure I link them in the description below, and catch you guys on the next quick care review.